I thought our offensive line did an excellent job against that front, and I thought it was a complete game where, you're playing to win and try to advance, and what a great challenge we've got next week at Philly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Price Check, your sports podcast brought to you by the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. Been a long time, but we are back. Had a little bit of an extended holiday break. Spent some time with the fam, of course. Enjoyed the snow that we got here in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri. But we are back because we have a lot of great sports content to talk about. But specifically in the NFL right now, of course, coming off of the heels of Wild Card Weekend. A Wild Card Weekend that didn't give us the greatest games, but set us up for some great storylines here come the divisional round. So we'll get into a little bit of a divisional round preview here today, but also talk a little bit about some of these coaching, a little bit, or I guess the coaching carousel a little bit in the NFL now that Mike McCarthy is no longer going to be the coach of the Cowboys. So before we get into coaches, though, NFL playoffs here, heating up down to the final 8 teams in the divisional round. AFC, we now are going to get Texans versus Chiefs on Saturday, and then Ravens versus Bills, which should be an epic game on Sunday. Probably going to be the best game of the slate. We'll save that one for last year. But in the NFC, of course, got a couple quote-unquote upsets in round one. You got the Commanders, of course, beating the Buccaneers. They're going to take on the Lions on Saturday night in Detroit. And then you got our Rams, baby, taking care of business last night, Monday Night Football playoff edition against the Vikings at home. They are going to travel to Philadelphia for round 2 and face the Eagles, a team that, of course, has been pretty good this season, but a little bit shaky as of late. So let's jump right in, right? So we'll start with the NFC. I feel like the NFC is going to be kind of a little bit more of a jumbled picture in terms of what the results could be. Now, this Commanders team, of course, Jaden Daniels is the man, had himself a crazy efficient game here. First time that they have won a playoff game, they being the Commanders, in the last 19 years. He's the quarterback to get them over that hump. Shout out to, him, Dan Quinn, the coaching staff, team over there. Also, the new front office there in Washington, taking over things after Dan Snyder decided to transition ownership finally. So things looking up for the Commanders. However, this is not the week that I expect them to continue this great story. I do think the Lions are going to win. I think they're going to win in a pretty high-scoring fashion. You're probably going to see something like a, 38-27 type of outcome. I do think that this Lions defense, of course, has stepped up. They played really well against the Vikings to end the season. Aaron Glenn, shout out to him, a guy that we're probably going to talk about as far as head coaching candidates go. He's got that defense playing lights out. I do think that, Washington is capable of scoring with anybody, but I do also believe that this Lions team has been the best team in the NFC all year long for a reason. They'll probably take care of business on Saturday night. Now, this Rams-Eagles thing is a little bit more tricky. Eagles, of course, have been arguably second best team in the NFC all season long, have one of the best players the league has seen this year in Saquon Barkley, yet nobody really believes in them. And why I say that is because, of course, you still see some offensive inconsistencies from them. They did, of course, win the game against Green Bay pretty handily, 22-10, but you never came out of that game or even some of their recent wins to end the season feeling like this is just a dominant team that has a run in them. You kind of almost expect the opposite. You expect them to fall short somewhere. Can this Rams team pull another upset? We've seen that this young defense has stepped up time and time again as the season has gone on. Shout out to rookie, soon to be defensive rookie of the year, I would think, Jared Verse. Had a touchdown in last night's game on fumble recovery. That Rams defense has ramped it up a lot lately. And I think, these two teams, of course, also saw each other earlier in the regular season. Eagles, of course, winning a close one there. I think this Rams team can get them. I ultimately think that, of course, the Eagles have a little bit more talent, a little bit more depth. But overall, this should be a pretty tight game. Of course, home field advantage going to Philly. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think this is going to be one where the coaching will matter. Is Nick Sirianni going to coach his team out of the game like he has a couple times this regular season? Maybe. We know, though, that Sean McVay in these situations is a guy that's going to win games, even the ones that he should not, the later we get into the season. A Super Bowl tested coach, Super Bowl tested coaching staff. you know what? We don't pick against the Rams on this show. We don't. We don't do it. We're not going to pick against the Rams yesterday, today, or tomorrow. We are going with the Rams to beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, putting it on wax. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think it's an upset that the Rams can pull off. And let's be honest. A Lions-Rams NFC championship is epic. Epic storyline for the NFC. Granted, you would get the two best teams in the conference, quote unquote, if you got Philly versus Detroit. We know we need the storyline of Detroit, Rams, Stafford, Goff again. This time, winner goes to the Super Bowl? Come on. Hollywood stories, man. I'm writing them right here for you, NFL. Just take my word for it. That's going to do it for the NFC. So, we, of course, are picking the Lions to win against the Commanders. We love for the Rams to beat the Eagles again, setting up the storyline for us for, again, Goff versus Stafford, Lions versus Rams, for a trip to the Super Bowl. Chef's kiss. Come on now. Let's do it. So, over to the AFC, Texans versus Chiefs. Of course, you had a lot of folks that were talking about, why were the Texans underdogs to the Chargers? Should they have, been favored? They were at home. They were the division winner. If you watch the Texans to end the season, you know that they did not have a good end to the regular season. They hadn't beaten a winning team, a team with a winning record, since October 6th. Yes, today is January 14th. So, again, they played the game on Saturday, but still, you get my point. Hadn't won a meaningful game in over 2 months. So, yes, they looked great against the Chargers. Yes, they might have seemed to find their defensive mojo. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. Not worried about it. Let's just put it on wax now. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. Chiefs, of course, coming off of yet another first-round bye in the Patrick Mahomes era. I do think this Chiefs team, of course, not quite as dominant as they've been in previous regular seasons, but at the end of the day, they only lost one game all year long. I don't think the Texans are going to be the team to knock them out. I'm taking the Chiefs in that one. It should, again, be, touchdown, 10-point game at max. I think the Chiefs, of course, are going to still have a little bit of rust to knock off early in that game. So if you're betting the game and you like the Texans or, maybe you are wanting to root for the underdog a little bit, maybe take Texans first half spread or something like that, or maybe even first half money line if you're feeling frisky. But playoffs, we don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Stop doing it. It's not a sound financial strategy. Just don't. So, Chiefs over the Texans, pick for me. Now, Ravens versus Bills. The game that we didn't know that we needed. I think that what we, of course, as fans are looking at is we are going to get our Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson matchup. We know all season long that we've seen the narrative pushed in Josh Allen's favor for MVP. We saw later in the season that a lot of people were like, okay, let's pump the brakes. Lamar Jackson has more of an MVP case than what people are giving him. All in all, we've never, this late into a season, especially in the playoffs with a chance for a conference championship berth on the line, we've never seen, at least from what I can remember, happy to be wrong on this, we have not seen in recent history, as far as I can tell, a matchup in the playoffs of the top two MVP candidates in the league. I know, of course, a lot of people are hoping that this is going to be, Lamar Jackson's time to solidify his MVP case, go ahead, get that win over Josh Allen, and move on to the Chiefs. I am picking the Ravens to win the game, but what I will caution people on is, even if the Ravens win the game, please be prepared that these folks are going to give Josh Allen the MVP award. If the NFL has shown you anything at all, it is that when things are within a reasonable margin, they are going to award whatever they need to the white guy at quarterback. Whatever it is, whether it's benefit of the doubt, whether it's an actual award, whether it's a penalty, whatever, they're going to err on the side of caution with the white man, right? So let's go ahead. Let's call it what it is. Even if Josh Allen wins the MVP, which it is a regular season award, his team had the better regular season record. However you want to justify it, all in all, though, I do think the Ravens are going to win the game. And I think that this is going to be that Lamar Jackson moment that finally kind of gets his perception over the hump as far as some folks outside of just general fans are concerned, where this is now going to be the time where they actually believe that Lamar Jackson can go get a Super Bowl for the Ravens. So if we get it, though, Ravens, of course, get past the Bills in Buffalo, which will be a tall task. I'm not saying this is going to be a blowout. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend, closest game of the weekend, all of that. I do think, though, if the Ravens are going to get past the Bills, they are the one team that can stop a Kansas City Chiefs three-peat. So Let's go ahead and see if we can get that AFC Championship game for the second year in a row. Of course, we saw them go into Arrowhead and lose by literally a toe length in the back of the end zone to start the season off. Would be very fitting for them to be able to go into Arrowhead to end the Chiefs season in the AFC Championship game. So, rooting for a Ravens win against the Bills so that we can get Chiefs-Ravens in the AFC Championship game. That's going to do it for playoff predictions, playoff previews here, divisional round. Now, of course, before we go, just want to hit really quickly on the NFL coaching carousel. We got Mike Vrabel landing the New England Patriots head coaching job, a move that we saw coming a mile away. Not sure why they didn't just do it last year, but nonetheless, they got the guy that they wanted. If you're keeping track of this all at home, make sure as the odds come out for next season, just go ahead and put your nice little piece, little taste of something on the Patriots to make the playoffs. I'm not saying you got to pick them to win the division, none of that, but to be one of the 7 playoff teams in the AFC, usually a new coach of some sort. We saw it with Jim Harbaugh in LA with the Chargers this season. NFC, you saw it with the Commanders, Dan Quinn taking over the Commanders. New coaches, at least one in each conference, can typically get their team into the playoffs their first season. Mike Vrabel has taken, teams with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback to the playoffs and some shakier talent on, the opposite side of the ball for the Titans. Definitely think that he can get a 7 seed with the New England Patriots come next season. So keep an eye on that with Mike Vrabel taking the job in New England. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. Mike McCarthy now out as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Not sure what the Cowboys are doing, to be honest. Mike McCarthy, 49-35 record in his 5 seasons as head coach. So obviously it wasn't about, wins and losses. I guess at least in the regular season, only one playoff win in those 5 years. So I can definitely understand why, Jerry Jones in the front office might be, kind of side-eyeing looking around for somebody else. But I just don't know, one, if you're a top head coaching candidate, why you want to go to Dallas at this point. I also don't know, from Dallas's perspective, what are you actually going for in terms of your next head coach? Is it an offensive mind to continue maximizing Dak and some of the weapons that you want to have on offense? Is it somebody that can kind of keep that defense together or maybe elevate it even more? Is it, what is it exactly? Because to me, Dallas is not necessarily just about the on-the-field aspect. Which is, why a lot of people have thrown out Deion Sanders. We saw that report come out that, there's some mutual interest there. But I don't see Deion being the coach for this team. I don't see any first-time NFL coach being the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not the environment for a guy taking the head coaching job for the first time. It just isn't. Not really sure what direction they go in. They were too late on Vrabel. Right now, they're too late on both of the Detroit Lions coordinators, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator. Not really sure what this means for the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, on the other hand, going to have his pick of jobs. Of course, he's going to interview for the Bears head coaching job as well as the Saints, reportedly. So, if I had to guess, I'd probably lean Chicago as far as the team that kind of acts on that first for him. But all in all, I think he's going to have an opportunity to go get another head coaching job, a much less stressful one, might I add. So he'll be fine. But Dallas, I'm a little confused on what direction they go in as far as a head coaching hire. And speaking of both of the coordinators for the Lions, of course, now that they are into a week where they actually have games, cannot interview until after the season. So the interviews that they've done so far are the ones that are going to kind of stick for them. I do think both of those coordinators get jobs. If I had to guess, Ben Johnson, based on some of the recent news that we've seen, probably gets the Raiders head coaching job. Apparently, this is a guy that Tom Brady is a fan of and even put a little bit of a sell job in with him to get him to interview for the position. So, like odds of Ben Johnson going and taking his talents to Las Vegas. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, probably going to end up with the Saints. Just a hunch that I have. So, like both of those guys getting head coaching jobs, not sure what that's going to mean for the Lions next year, but that's not their problem to figure out right now. Of course, they're just trying to go win the Super Bowl. So that'll do it for our NFL talk today. Again, looking forward to a lot of this playoff action that's coming up, a lot of news that's going to be surrounding the league. We have not forgotten about the NBA. We will cover a lot more NBA as we get through the NFL playoffs. But Couple things NBA wise, keep an eye on. A little stock up on Zach LaVine, outstanding lately. Probably going to get traded by the deadline. And a team that we got a little bit of a stock up on, the Sacramento Kings, have been on an absolute tear since Doug Christie took over as the head coach. So that'll do it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you continue to like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Continue to share with anybody that you have on the socials. Make sure to follow us on the socials at Price Check Pod on Instagram, on X, formerly Twitter. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Josh Price. Check it out.